richest man in Atlanta was on his knees outside her tiny room, blood soaking through his expensive shirt, begging the same woman he had destroyed in front of 200 guests just 3 hours ago. Maya Johnson had been working at the Carter estate for exactly 2 weeks when everything changed. She stood in the massive kitchen, her hands shaking as she loaded champagne glasses onto a silver tray. The party upstairs sounded like something from a movie. Loud music, louder laughter, the kind of people who spent more on one bottle of wine than Maya's mama made in a month. "Girl, you better not drop those glasses," said Rita, the head housekeeper. She was a thick woman in her 50s with gray streaks in her braids and eyes that had seen too much. "Each one costs more than your paycheck." Maya nodded. "Yes, ma'am." She was 22 years old, fresh out of community college, no fancy degree, no connections, just a desperate need to help her sick grandmother pay for her medicine. The job at the Carter estate had felt like a blessing. Marcus Carter was one of the richest black men in America. Tech money, old money, money that made other rich people look poor. His mansion sat on 50 acres just outside Atlanta, and it took Maya 20 minutes just to walk from the staff quarters to the main house. "Take those up to the West Wing," Rita said. "And Maya?" "Yes?" "Stay invisible. Mr. Carter is in a mood tonight, his engagement party and all." Maya grabbed the tray and walked toward the service elevator. Her uniform was simple: black dress, white apron, hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked like every other maid in the house, which was exactly the point. The elevator opened to a different world. Crystal chandeliers hung from ceilings that were 3 stories high. Women in dresses that cost more than cars floated across marble floors. Men in suits laughed too loud and drank too much. A live band played jazz in the corner. Maya kept her head down and moved through the crowd. She had learned quickly that rich people didn't see the help. She was furniture, a ghost, nothing. She was almost to the bar when someone grabbed her arm. "You, Maid." Maya turned. A woman stood there in a red dress so tight it looked painted on. Her skin was dark brown and flawless. Her hair was long and straight. Her eyes were cold. "Yes, ma'am," Maya said. "I need more champagne at my table, now." "Yes, ma'am, right away." Maya hurried to deliver the glasses to the bar, then grabbed a fresh bottle. She walked quickly toward the woman's table near the center of the room. That's when she saw him. Marcus Carter. He was tall, maybe 6'3". His skin was deep brown, smooth like expensive chocolate. His head was shaved clean. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. He wore a black suit that fit him like it was made by angels, which it probably was. But his eyes were what stopped Maya cold. They were dark and empty, like looking into a well with no bottom. He stood near the woman in red, his arm around her waist, but he wasn't smiling. He looked bored, angry even. Maya approached the table carefully. She kept her eyes down. She poured the champagne slowly, making sure not to spill. That's when the woman in red stuck out her foot. Maya didn't see it coming. 1 second she was pouring. The next second she was falling. The bottle flew from her hands. Champagne exploded everywhere, all over the table, all over the woman's red dress, all over Marcus Carter's perfect suit. The room went silent. Maya scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll clean it up, right?" "You stupid girl." The woman in red jumped up, her dress dripping. "Do you know how much this dress cost? Do you have any idea?" "I'm sorry, I didn't see." "Veronica." Marcus Carter's voice was low and calm, too calm. "Sit down." The woman, Veronica, stopped yelling. She sat. Marcus turned to Maya. Those empty eyes looked her up and down like she was dirt on his shoe. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya, sir. Maya Johnson." How long have you worked here, Maya Johnson? 2 weeks, sir. He nodded slowly. Then he picked up a glass of red wine from the table. For a moment, Maya thought he was going to drink it. Instead, he poured it over her head. The cold wine ran down her face, into her eyes, down her neck. It soaked through her uniform. It dripped onto the marble floor. The room was still silent. 200 people watched and said nothing. That dress cost $50,000, Marcus said. His voice was still calm, almost bored. You will never be able to pay for it, so consider this your payment. Maya couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. Wine dripped from her chin. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Now get out of my sight, Marcus said. You're fired. Veronica laughed. Other people started laughing too. The sound filled the room like poison. Maya turned and walked toward the service door. Her shoes squeaked on the wet floor. Her uniform stuck to her skin. She could feel every eye on her back. She didn't cry until she reached the kitchen. Rita found her there 20 minutes later, sitting on the floor behind the pantry, sobbing into her stained apron. Child. Rita knelt down beside her. I heard what happened. He fired me, Maya whispered. I can't lose this job. My grandma needs her medicine. I can't. Hush now. Rita pulled her into a hug. You ain't fired until I say you're fired. I run this house, not him. You go to your room. Clean yourself up. We'll figure this out in the morning. Maya nodded. She stood on shaky legs and walked to the staff quarters at the back of the estate. She didn't know that in 3 hours, everything would change again. She didn't know that the man who had just destroyed her would be bleeding outside her door. And she definitely didn't know that she was the only person in the world who could save his life. Maya stood in the tiny bathroom of her staff quarters, staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror. The wine had dried in her hair, turning it stiff and sticky. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Her uniform was ruined. She peeled off the wet clothes and stepped into the shower. The water was barely warm, but she didn't care. She scrubbed her skin until it was raw, trying to wash away the shame that clung to her like a second skin. $50,000. That's what Veronica's dress cost. Maya made $800 a week. It would take her over a year to pay for that dress, even if she didn't eat or pay rent or buy her grandmother's medicine. And Marcus Carter had poured wine on her head like she was nothing. Maya turned off the water and wrapped herself in a thin towel. She walked back to her small room and sat on the edge of the bed. The room was simple. A single bed, a small dresser, a window that looked out at the back gardens. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She picked it up and saw a text from her mother. How's the new job going, baby? Grandma asked about you today. Maya's chest tightened. She couldn't tell her mother what happened. Not yet. Her grandmother was 73 years old, with a bad heart and worse kidneys. The medicine she needed cost $400 a month, even with insurance. Without Maya's job, they couldn't afford it. Everything's fine, Mama, she typed back. Tell Grandma I love her. She set the phone down and lay back on the bed. The ceiling had a water stain shaped like a heart. Maya stared at it and tried to figure out what to do next. Maybe Rita could really save her job. Rita had worked at the Carter estate for 30 years. She knew where all the bodies were buried, as she liked to say. If anyone could fix this mess, it was her. But even if Maya kept her job, how could she face Marcus Carter again? How could she walk through that house knowing everyone had seen her humiliation, knowing they had all laughed? She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but her mind kept replaying the moment. The cold wine on her skin, the silence of the room, the emptiness in Marcus Carter's eyes. What kind of man did something like that? A monster, Maya thought. A rich, handsome monster. 3 hours passed. Maya was somewhere between sleep and waking when she heard it. A sound outside her door. At first, she thought it was an animal, a dog, or a cat from the estate. Then she heard the voice. "Help! Me!" Maya sat up in bed, her heart pounding. The voice was low and rough, like someone in pain. She grabbed her robe and tied it tight around her waist. "Hello?" she called out. "Please, help!" Maya walked slowly to the door. Every horror movie she had ever seen told her not to open it, but something in that voice made her reach for the handle anyway. She opened the door and screamed. Marcus Carter was on the ground. His expensive suit was torn and covered in blood. His face was swollen and bruised. One of his eyes was nearly shut. Blood poured from a wound in his side, soaking through his white shirt and pooling on the concrete. "Please," he whispered, "don't. Let me die." Maya stood frozen. This was the man who had humiliated her, the man who had fired her, the man who had treated her like she was less than human. Part of her wanted to slam the door and let him suffer, but she wasn't that kind of person. "Oh my God!" She dropped to her knees beside him. "What happened to you?" "Shot," he managed to say. "Can't. Call police." "What? Why not?" His hand grabbed her wrist. His grip was weak but desperate. "They'll kill me. Kill everyone. Please, just help me." Maya's mind raced. She should call 911. She should get Rita. She should do something other than kneel here in her robe next to a bleeding billionaire. But the look in his eyes stopped her. The emptiness was gone. Now there was only fear. Real, human fear. "Can you stand?" she asked. "I don't know." Maya put her arm around his waist and pulled. He was heavy, so heavy, but adrenaline gave her strength she didn't know she had. She dragged him through the doorway and into her small room. He collapsed on her bed, groaning in pain. Blood immediately soaked into her sheets. "I need to see the wound," Maya said. Her voice was shaking, but her hands were steady. She had spent 2 years working as a nursing assistant before the hospital cut her hours. She knew basic first aid. She knew how to stay calm in an emergency. She unbuttoned his shirt and pulled it open. The wound was on his left side, just below his ribs. It was small and round, a bullet hole. "The bullet is still inside," she said. "You need a hospital." "No." His hand grabbed hers again. "No hospital. They're watching. If I go to a hospital, they'll find me. They'll finish the job." Who did this to you?" He shook his head. "Can't tell you. Too dangerous." Maya wanted to argue, but blood was still flowing from the wound. If she didn't stop the bleeding soon, he would die right here in her bed. She ran to her bathroom and grabbed the small first aid kit she kept under the sink. It wasn't much. Some bandages, antiseptic, medical tape, nothing that could fix a bullet wound, but it was all she had. She pressed a thick pad of gauze against the wound and pushed down hard. Marcus groaned in pain, his body arching off the bed. "I'm sorry," she said. "I have to stop the bleeding." "It's okay," he gasped. "Just keep going." Maya pressed harder. The gauze turned red almost immediately. She grabbed another pad and added it to the first. "You need real medical help," she said. "I can't take a bullet out. I can't stitch you up. You could die." "I know someone," Marcus said. His voice was getting weaker. "A doctor, off the books. I'll call him. Just need to stop the bleeding first." Maya looked at his face. His skin was turning gray. His breathing was shallow. He was going into shock. "Stay with me," she said. "Don't you dare close your eyes." "Bossy," he muttered. "You're bossy. You poured wine on my head 3 hours ago. I get to be bossy." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Fair enough." Maya kept pressure on the wound. Minutes passed. The bleeding slowed, but didn't stop completely. She wrapped bandages around his torso as tight as she could. "Your phone," she said. "Where is it?" "Pocket, left side." She reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a phone with a cracked screen. "What's the password?" "No password, just call the last number. Tell him it's a code black." Maya found the last number and pressed call. It rang twice before a man answered. "Mr. Carter?" "No, my name is Maya. Mr. Carter told me to call you. He said it's a code black." Silence on the other end. Then, "Where are you?" "Staff quarters at the Carter estate, back of the property." "Don't move him. Don't call anyone else. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Maya set the phone down and looked at Marcus. His eyes were closed now, but his chest was still rising and falling. "Hey," she said, shaking his shoulder. "Stay awake. You have to stay awake." His eyes fluttered open. "Why? Are you helping me? After what I did?" Maya didn't have an answer for that. She didn't know why she was helping him. Maybe because she wasn't raised to let people die. Maybe because she was curious about who shot him and why. Maybe because some stupid part of her wanted to prove she was better than him. "Because I'm not like you," she finally said. "I don't throw people away." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his eyes, something that looked almost like shame. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for what I did, at the party." "Save your apologies," Maya said. "You might need them later." If there was a later, the 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Maya sat on the floor next to her bed, one hand pressed against Marcus's bandaged wound, the other holding his wrist to check his pulse. It was weak, too weak. His skin was cold and clammy, and his breathing had become shallow and uneven. "Stay with me," she kept saying. "The doctor is coming. Just stay with me." Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes he would mumble things that didn't make sense. Names she didn't recognize, numbers, fragments of conversations. "Don't trust the board," he muttered at one point. "They're all in on it." "In on what?" Maya asked, but he was already gone again, lost in whatever dark place his mind had taken him. Maya looked at her hands. They were covered in his blood. Her robe was ruined. Her sheets were ruined. Her whole night was ruined. And yet, she couldn't stop thinking about what he had said. "They'll kill me. Kill everyone." Who was they? What had Marcus Carter gotten himself into? The man was a billionaire. He had security guards. He had lawyers. He had an entire empire. How could someone like him end up bleeding out in a maid's room? A soft knock on the door made Maya jump. "Who is it?" she called out. "Dr. Raymond Price. You called me." Maya stood and opened the door. A black man in his 60s stood there, carrying a large medical bag. He was tall and thin, with silver hair and glasses. He wore a simple grey suit, like he had just left a dinner party. He looked past Maya to the bed, and his expression didn't change, like he had seen this kind of thing before. "How long ago was he shot?" Dr. Price asked, pushing past her into the room. "I don't know. Maybe an hour. He showed up at my door like this." Dr. Price set his bag on the dresser and opened it. Inside were tools and equipment that looked like they belonged in an operating room. Scalpels, clamps, sutures, bottles of medication. "You did good work stopping the bleeding," he said, examining Maya's bandages. "You have medical training?" "I was a nursing assistant for 2 years." Dr. Price nodded. "Good. I'm going to need your help. Can you handle that?" Maya looked at Marcus's pale face. She thought about everything he had done to her. The wine, the laughter, the way he had looked at her, like she was nothing. Then she thought about his eyes when he was begging for help. The fear, the desperation, the humanity she hadn't seen before. Yes, she said. I can handle it. For the next 2 hours, Maya assisted Dr. Price as he worked on Marcus. She handed him tools. She held back skin while he dug for the bullet. She wiped away blood so he could see what he was doing. It was brutal work. At one point, Marcus woke up screaming, and Maya had to hold him down, while Dr. Price administered more pain medication. Almost there, Dr. Price muttered. Just a little more. Got it. He pulled out a small bloody bullet and dropped it into a metal tray. The sound it made was sickening. Now we stitch him up, Dr. Price said. Hand me the sutures. Maya watched as the doctor closed the wound with precise, practiced movements. When he was done, he applied fresh bandages and checked Marcus's vital signs. He'll live, Dr. Price said finally. Lost a lot of blood, but he's strong. He'll need rest, lots of it, and antibiotics to prevent infection. Maya let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. What happened to him? Who did this? Dr. Feytoy. Price looked at her with tired eyes. That's not my business to know, and it shouldn't be yours either. He reached into his bag and pulled out several bottles of pills. Pain medication, antibiotics. Instructions are on the labels. He shouldn't be moved for at least 48 hours. Can you keep him here? Maya looked around her tiny room, a billionaire, in her bed, for 2 days. I guess I don't have a choice, she said. Dr. Price almost smiled. He's lucky you found him. Most people would have let him die after what he did tonight. You know about that? I know everything about Marcus Carter. I've been his personal doctor for 15 years. Dr. Price closed his bag and headed for the door. He's not a bad man, Miss Johnson. He's just a broken one. Maybe you'll see that. Maybe you won't. He left without another word, disappearing into the night like a ghost. Maya stood alone in her room, staring at the unconscious billionaire in her bed. His face was peaceful now, almost innocent. It was hard to believe this was the same man who had destroyed her just hours ago. She grabbed a chair from the corner and sat down next to the bed. Someone had to watch him, make sure he didn't stop breathing, make sure no one came to finish what they started. She didn't sleep that night. Marcus woke up the next morning. At first, he didn't know where he was. His eyes moved around the small room, taking in the water-stained ceiling, the cracked mirror, the thin curtains over the window. Then he saw Maya, asleep in the chair next to him, her head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. Memories flooded back. The party, Veronica, the gunshots, crawling through the darkness. Begging for help at a stranger's door. No, not a stranger. The maid. The one he had humiliated in front of everyone. The one he had fired for no good reason except that Veronica wanted him to, and she had saved his life. Marcus tried to sit up, but pain exploded in his side. He groaned loudly, and Maya's eyes snapped open. Don't move, she said, standing quickly. You'll tear your stitches. Water, Marcus croaked. His throat felt like sandpaper. Maya grabbed a glass from the nightstand and helped him drink. The water was warm and tasted like metal, but Marcus had never tasted anything so good. Thank you, he said when he finished. Maya set the glass down and crossed her arms. You need to tell me what's going on. What do you mean? Don't play stupid with me. Her voice was hard now, angry. Someone shot you last night. You crawled to my door instead of calling the police. A secret doctor came and performed surgery in my room. What kind of mess are you in? Marcus closed his eyes. He didn't want to tell her. The less she knew, the safer she would be. But she had saved his life. She deserved some answers. It was my board of directors, he said quietly. They tried to have me killed. Maya's eyes widened. What? Why? Because I found out what they've been doing. They've been stealing from my company for years. millions of dollars, funneling it into offshore accounts. When I confronted them last week, they smiled and told me to mind my own business. So they shot you? They hired someone to do it, a professional, caught me leaving the party. Marcus touched his bandaged side. He was supposed to make it look like a robbery, but I fought back. Got away, ended up at your door. Maya sat back down in her chair. Her mind was spinning. Board of directors, stolen millions, hired killers. This was like something out of a movie. Why can't you go to the police? She asked. Because half the police department is on their payroll. So are the judges, the lawyers, everyone who matters. Marcus's voice was bitter. I'm a billionaire, Miss Johnson, but money only protects you when you're the one controlling it. Right now, they control everything. So what are you going to do? Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time, he saw her as a person, a young woman with tired eyes and blood on her hands, a woman who had every reason to hate him but had saved him anyway. I don't know, he admitted. I need time to think, time to heal. Time to figure out my next move. And you want to stay here, in my room? Just for a few days, until I can move safely. I'll pay you, whatever you want. Maya laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. You think I want your money, after what you did to me? Marcus flinched. I know I don't deserve your help. I know I was cruel. I was showing off for people who don't matter, being the person they expected me to be. He paused. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. Maya stared at him for a long moment. She thought about her grandmother, her mother, the medicine they needed, the bills that never stopped coming. I don't forgive you, she said finally. But I'll help you, not for money, not because you asked nicely. I'll help you because those people tried to kill you, and nobody deserves that, not even you. Marcus nodded slowly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Maya said. We still have to figure out how to keep you alive, and how to take down the people who want you dead. For the first time since she had met him, Marcus Carter smiled. It was small and weak, but it was real. You know, he said, you're not what I expected. Neither are you, Maya replied, but I guess we're stuck with each other now. Outside the window, the sun was rising over the Carter estate. Somewhere in the main house, powerful men were celebrating what they thought was a successful murder. They had no idea that their target was still alive, and they definitely had no idea that a maid named Maya Johnson was about to become their biggest problem.